Your grandmother's house would have collapsed without my constant care and maintenance. So you owe me $80,000 before you can claim your inheritance," Aunt Martha declared, spreading contractor invoices across the courtroom table like a deck of winning cards. She'd walked in wearing her real estate blazer, confident that her receipts for roof repairs, lawn service, and weekly cleaning would guarantee her payday. Until Ernest Thompson, Grandma's 82-year-old neighbor, stood up with a manila envelope thick as a phone book. "Your Honor, I've photographed that house every single day for the past 5 years to document code violations, and I can prove it's been abandoned since the day Mrs. Eleanor died. Would you like to see January through December of absolute neglect?" The silence that followed was so complete I could hear Aunt Martha's designer heels scraping against the floor as she stumbled backward. Her attorney, William Vance, a man who clearly expected an easy win, frantically whispered in her ear while fumbling with his briefcase. "Mr. Thompson," Judge Patricia Knowles leaned forward with interest. "You photographed the property daily? For 5 years?" Ernest adjusted his Korean War veteran cap and stood straighter. "Yes, Your Honor. 1,826 days of documentation. Started the day after Eleanor's funeral when I noticed Martha removing the lockbox. Been watching that house rot ever since, waiting for someone to care enough to listen." I sat frozen next to my lawyer, Diana Chen, trying to process what I was hearing. For 3 years, since Grandma died during my sophomore year of college, Martha had been sending me photos of the maintenance she was doing, updates on the contractors she'd hired, bills for the upkeep she claimed was preserving my inheritance. And all that time, Ernest had been documenting the truth. "Let's establish some background," Judge Knowles said. "Miss Sarah Williams, please explain your relationship to the property and Mrs. Martha Stevens." I stood on shaky legs, smoothing my black dress. The same one I'd worn to Grandma's funeral. The one Martha had criticized as too casual for a bereaved granddaughter. "Eleanor Williams was my grandmother. She raised me after my parents died in a car accident when I was 8. When I got a full scholarship to Columbia, she was so proud. She died during my sophomore year, and in her will, she left me her house, the one she'd lived in for 60 years. And Mrs. Stevens, she's my aunt, my mother's older sister. When Grandma died, I was in the middle of finals, living in New York. Martha offered to look after the house until I graduated. She said it was what family did for each other." Martha snorted from across the room. "Offered? You begged me. Too busy with your precious college to come home and handle responsibilities. I was 19 and on academic scholarship. I shot back. Missing finals would have cost me my education, the one thing Grandma wanted most from me." "Ladies," Judge Knowles interrupted. "Let's proceed in order. Mrs. Stevens, please present your claim." Martha stood, straightening papers with the efficiency of someone who'd been planning this moment. "Your Honor, I've spent 5 years maintaining my mother's property. Weekly cleaning services, lawn maintenance, pest control, roof repairs, plumbing updates, all documented here." She tapped the stack of invoices. $80,000 of work to preserve a house that would have been condemned without my intervention. "And you have receipts for all of this?" "Every penny," Martha said proudly. "I'm a real estate agent. I know the importance of documentation. I even have before and after photos showing the improvements." She pulled out a folder of photographs. "This is the new roof, $15,000. New gutters, $5,000. Complete kitchen renovation, $25,000. I transformed that deteriorating property into a showcase home." "Mr. Thompson," Judge Knowles turned to Ernest, "you indicated you have contradicting evidence." Ernest shuffled forward with his manila envelope and a tablet. "Your Honor, I've been Eleanor Williams' neighbor for 40 years. Watched Sarah grow up in that house. When Eleanor died and Martha started coming around, something felt wrong. So I started taking pictures." He pulled out the first photo. "This is from the day of Eleanor's funeral. You can see Martha's Mercedes in the driveway, a moving truck out front. She was loading things out, not maintaining anything." "That's absurd," Martha started. "Ma'am, you'll have your chance to respond," Judge Knowles said firmly. "Continue, Mr. Thompson." Ernest connected his tablet to the courtroom's display system. "I organize these by date, every single day, same angle, from my front porch. 5 years of evidence." The slideshow began. Day after day, the house stood empty, grass growing wild, gutters sagging. Paint peeling. Windows dirty. Newspapers piling up on the porch that Martha had supposedly been maintaining weekly. This is from last month. Ernest clicked to a recent photo. Same roof she claims she replaced. You can see the missing shingles, the blue tarp I put up myself after a storm because I couldn't stand to see Eleanor's house suffer anymore. The courtroom was riveted. Diana squeezed my hand as we watched 5 years of lies unravel in time-lapse photography. But the receipts. Martha's attorney interjected. Oh, I can explain those, Ernest said with the satisfaction of someone who'd been waiting years for this moment. See, I'm retired, but I spent 40 years as a building inspector. I know every contractor in this county. After I saw those invoices Martha submitted to the court, I made some calls. He pulled out another folder. Rodriguez Roofing, that $15,000 roof repair. They did replace a roof that week. On Martha's house, not Eleanor's. Here's the work order with her address. Palmer Plumbing, $8,000 in repairs. Also Martha's house. New bathroom renovation. Greenway Landscaping, $500 monthly for 5 years. They've been maintaining Martha's property. Eleanor's house hasn't seen a lawnmower since the funeral. Each revelation hit Martha like a physical blow. Her face went from red to white to a sickly green. Your Honor. Diana stood. We'd like to submit additional evidence. Bank records showing Mrs. Stevens has been collecting rent on the property for the past 3 years. That's impossible, I gasped. The house was empty. Not according to these lease agreements, Diana continued. Mrs. Stevens has been renting it as a furnished vintage home on short-term rental sites. $200 per night, averaged 15 nights per month. That's approximately $108,000 in rental income. You rented out Grandma's house? I turned to Martha, feeling sick. With all her things still inside. Her photos, her furniture, her. It was sitting empty, Martha snapped. Wasting money. Someone had to be practical. Practical? Ernest's voice shook with anger. You told Sarah the house was being maintained while you turned Eleanor's home into a hotel. I watched strangers coming and going, parties in the backyard, people posting photos online sitting in Eleanor's chairs, sleeping in her bed. He pulled out printed screenshots. I found the listing online. You marketed it as an authentic 1950s time capsule and stepped back in time in Grandma's house. You commercialized Eleanor's memory. Judge Knowles studied the evidence, her expression darkening. Mrs. Stevens, you collected rent while claiming the property was vacant, while simultaneously billing your niece for maintenance on a house you weren't maintaining. The rental income went toward expenses. What expenses? Ernest interrupted. This photo is from last week. The porch is rotting, the roof is failing, the foundation has visible cracks. Every dollar went into your pocket while Eleanor's house crumbled. Martha's attorney whispered urgently in her ear, but she pushed him away. I deserved compensation. I'm the one who stayed here, who took care of Mother while Sarah gallivanted off to college. Where was she during the doctor's appointments, the sleepless nights? I was in high school, I said quietly. Then college, like Grandma insisted. She made me promise to get my degree no matter what. Said it was more important than anything. And I have proof of that too, Ernest added, pulling out a final document. Eleanor's journal. She gave it to me for safekeeping, said to give it to Sarah when the time was right. I think that time is now. Diana handed the worn journal to Judge Knowles, bookmarked to a specific entry. The judge read aloud. March 15th. Martha came by again today, demanding I change my will. Says Sarah doesn't deserve the house, that a college girl won't appreciate it. I told her the truth, that I already saw what she did with her inheritance from Harold, Grandma's brother. How she squandered it on schemes and shopping. This house is Sarah's birthright, where her parents were married, where she took her first steps. Martha can contest all she wants, but I've made provisions. Ernest next door has instructions and evidence. He'll protect Sarah's interests when I'm gone. The judge continued reading. I know Martha will try something. She always does when money's involved. But Sarah's a smart girl. She'll figure it out. And Ernest will be watching. Good neighbors are better than greedy relatives. She knew, I whispered, tears streaming. Grandma knew what you do. Martha's composed facade finally cracked completely. It's not fair. I'm her daughter. I stayed in this nothing town while you left. That house should be mine. Your mother left you $50,000 in cash, Judge Knowles noted, reviewing the will. She left your brother the same. The house went to Sarah. Those were her wishes. Money I spent on her care, on her medical bills, on gambling, Ernest said quietly. Eleanor knew about your casino trips, Martha. You'd already spent your inheritance before she even died. That's why she protected the house for Sarah. Your Honor, Diana spoke up, given the evidence of fraud, embezzlement, and elder abuse. Yes, elder abuse, as Mrs. Stevens clearly manipulated her dying mother. We request not only dismissal of her claim, but criminal investigation and restitution for the stolen rental income. Agreed, Judge Knowles said. Mrs. Stevens, your claim is dismissed. You're ordered to pay $108,000 in stolen rental income to Miss Williams, plus damages for any property deterioration caused by your negligence and unauthorized use. I'm also referring this case to the district attorney for fraud charges. But those repairs were done to your own home while you let your mother's legacy rot, the judge finished. You created false invoices, submitted fraudulent claims, and attempted to extort your niece while profiting from property that wasn't yours. That's multiple felonies, Mrs. Stevens. As Martha was escorted out, still protesting about unfairness and family obligations, Ernest approached me. Your grandmother would be proud of you, Sarah. She talked about you every day. How you were studying architecture, how you wanted to restore old houses. She said you'd know how to bring her home back to life. You watched it decay for 5 years, I said through tears. That must have been so hard. Hardest thing I ever did, he admitted. But Eleanor made me promise. Said Martha had to show her true colors in court, with evidence. Said you'd need proof, not just an old man's word against our real estate agents. Thank you, I hugged him. This elderly neighbor who'd been more family than my actual aunt. For everything. Got one more thing, Ernest said, pulling out a key. Eleanor gave me this the week before she died. Said when you were ready to come home, really come home, to give you this. It's to her safety deposit box at the bank. Said there's something in there about your parents and the house. That afternoon, Diana and I went to the bank. In the safety deposit box, we found the original blueprints to the house. Drawn by my grandfather, who built it himself in 1952. There were photos of my parents' wedding in the backyard, of me as a baby on the front porch, of 4 generations of women in front of the rose bushes Grandma had planted. And a letter, in Grandma's shaky handwriting. My dearest Sarah, if you're reading this, then Martha showed her true colors and Ernest kept his promise. I'm sorry for the pain this caused, but some lessons must be learned the hard way. This house isn't just property, it's our family's heart. Your grandfather built it with his own hands. Your parents were married under the oak tree. You learned to walk in the living room. Martha never understood that. She sees price tags where we see memories. I know it's damaged now. Martha was never one for maintenance, despite what she'll claim. But you're studying architecture for a reason. Restore it. Not for money, but for memory. Make it the home I know you remember. The rental income she stole should cover renovations. Ernest has a list of honest contractors. He inspected their work for decades. Trust him. And when you're done, live in it. Fill it with laughter again. Have babies who'll take their first steps where you did. Plant new roses next to mine. Make new memories while honoring old ones. That's your real inheritance, not just a house, but a home. Martha could never steal that because she never understood it existed. All my love, Grandma. P.S. Check the attic. I hid photo albums there. Martha doesn't like ladders. That evening, Ernest and I walked through the house together. It was worse than the photos showed. Water damage, mold, neglect everywhere. But underneath, the bones were strong. Grandpa had built it to last. She used to sit right here, Ernest pointed to the front porch, watching for you to visit. Even when her mind started going, she asked, is Sarah coming today? Every single day. I came when I could, I said, guilt heavy in my chest. She knew that. Was proud of you for studying, for making something of yourself. Said education was the one thing nobody could steal from you. He paused. Guess she didn't count on Martha trying to steal everything else. We found the photo albums in the attic, wrapped in plastic. Hundreds of pictures Martha had missed in her grab for valuables. My parents, grandparents, great-grandparents. All in this house. All part of its story. Your Honor was right about one thing, Ernest said, looking at a photo of Grandma as a young bride. This house is a time capsule. Just not the kind you rent to strangers. 6 months later, the house was restored. not to Martha's fictional standards, but to Grandma's actual ones. Ernest supervised every contractor, sharing stories of which room Grandpa built first, where my parents had their first dance, which window Grandma always kept open for the spring breeze. The day I moved in, half the neighborhood showed up. They'd all been waiting, watching Martha's charade, unable to intervene but never forgetting the woman who'd made soup for sick neighbors and babysat their children for free. Eleanor would have loved this, Ernest said, admiring the restored kitchen. Especially that you kept her yellow cabinets. Martha wanted to paint them white, make it modern. Your grandma said, white kitchens are for people afraid of living. I finished, remembering. Yellow is the color of sunshine and butter and happy mornings. She trained you well, he laughed. That night, I sat on the front porch in Grandma's rocking chair, the one Martha had rented to strangers for photo opportunities. The house was mine now, not just legally, but spiritually. Every board held memories, every room echoed with love. Martha was facing fraud charges. The rental money had covered renovations with enough left for a scholarship fund in Grandma's name at the local high school. The house that had sat empty for 5 years was full of life again. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. This is your cousin Beth, Martha's daughter. I'm sorry for what Mom did. Grandma's house looks beautiful. She would be so happy you're home. I thought about responding, then decided to wait. Forgiveness, like restoration, took time. But Grandma's house had taught me patience. Good things were worth waiting for, worth fighting for, worth preserving. Ernest waved from his porch, keeping watch like always. Good neighbors, Grandma had written, are better than greedy relatives. She was right about that, like she was right about everything else. The house wasn't just my inheritance, it was my heritage, and no amount of fake invoices could put a price on that. Thanks, Grandma, I whispered to the evening air. For everything. For the house, for Ernest, for making sure I learned the difference between value and price. I'll take care of it. I promise. The wind chimes she'd hung 50 years ago sang in the breeze, and I could almost hear her voice. I know you will, sweetheart. I always knew you would.